the human being is built for programming, and the way that it would work, right, is that, boy, that light is pretty gnarly. The way that it would work is that human beings are highly programmable, but the way that it works is that it takes a few years for a human being to start, like, say, feeling the trauma of changes made. And I guess it really depends on how your mind is and how you are. But it takes time to have digested a change that was made. And human beings can be so ultra sensitive. I mean, it's noticed right away, but do they communicate it right away? Can they? The answer is no, based on my experience. It depends on really what kind of change has been made. If it's the kind of change that kind of like it's destructive to a delicacy, or like something that is there, that takes discipline to maintain, say, and it kind of is based in your intelligence, how that memory keeps persisting. If that is changed abruptly, say, it's taking a while to process, right? Especially if you don't communicate it right away. It's trauma. You experience trauma. See, trauma is something that is that the mind is going through, because it holds a certain belief about something, and now it's experiencing a change, and it's not excluding the physical traumas or something really gnarly. I'm just saying, the mind is handling, mostly that's where the trauma is happening. Otherwise, the body has a beautiful way of recovering. And, well, to say more about this, as far as what the mind is capable of, hypnosis, people who can hypnotize themselves can, they can stop their own bleeding, or they can just override an injury or something. A lot of times it happens anyway. You'll hear that the person wasn't able to comprehend the injury that they had, and that is kind of called shock, I think. There's a form of shock on the battlefield where they kind of just check out the fact that their lower part of their body has been blown to pieces, but it's like a natural thing that saves them, because if they were to panic, they would lose that much blood, kind of thing. So they just go into la la land and start calling their brother to make an appointment, or to make a date to go bowling or something. And so anyway, gosh, just talking about the mind's true capabilities, which is a dangerous thing if we really took a hold of it right. But I was trying to poke around at, what's going on with the human being exposed to, say, laws that come up, or just announcements that are made that says, well, these changes need to go on, or whatever. individually, and or it's also applicable on the collective scale as to how to program the mind through trauma. Really, it's really just knowing that people will be in a state of being blown apart, and then they can be reprogrammed. That's one thing to slide in there. It's like at that time of being discombobulated and completely, I guess the word is ego destruction, then you can be reformed and reprogrammed with some things. And that is, I think it depends on how much trauma that you received. I mean, if you really went through a lot of trauma, you're not going to be as easily programmed. Some people don't know they are in trauma and that they're being programmed, right? See, I'm trying to poke around at, like, if you can imagine the communication that needs to go on to avoid being completely, like, your speech can be taken away. That's what happens when you're being abused. You're experiencing a level of trauma where these changes are being made, but you're like, it's taking a while to process. And if you're not anything like me, then you're going to wait a while to say something, which is not good. You should work things out right away. Try to say, hey, no, actually, it takes energy, and a lot of people, see, especially narcissists, don't do that kind of work to get on top of it. And it actually takes a ton of energy, righteous energy, really. That's why you're eating and drinking and taking care of yourself, is so that you can rise to these occasions and say, by the way, no, we've known that this is the way to do it, and it's okay. We don't need to change it, you know, and because, that's what would cause not only trauma to the mind, but now the environment is going to be subjected. And we do see that. It's like, okay, so we forget how to farm. Indians always knew how to replenish the soil and take part in the full circle of things living and dying, and particularly farm. But no, it's a new thing. It's a new thing to be. What's the new name for being harmonious with the land? And it's like, it's trauma just listening to that, like, notion that this is a new thing. It's like, did you know that we already knew how to do all of that stuff? This is obviously an alien has landed here and thinks we're figuring things out for the first time, I guess, which is traumatizing to think, because what if we already did it and then that person's just like speechless, man. You cannot say, excuse me, but this is what I was doing the whole time, blah, blah, blah. First of all, you're not even looking, so why are you trying to explain yourself to people that are obligated to not see reality, misunderstand it completely? Therefore, truth is a myth. Thanks for listening. Not sure if this was any good of a conversation. We do have an exact aspect with Mercury and Pluto in the air, and apparently it's going to go retrograde. So perhaps the subject matter is right up that alley of, like revisiting our I was going to say mental status, but really, yeah, no, it's like this. How do we take care of these issues, like that we can't, our tongue is being snatched out because we can't come up with the words. It's like, excuse me, and why was that changed in the first place? So now we have to communicate, and it's coming up again. Okay, so right at Pluto, this Mercury Pluto square, I didn't see what exact day, but I don't think it's very far after the full moon, which is right upon us now, I think. very vague on the subject matter, can you tell? That Mercury is going to go retrograde and it's going to go back into Aries. And boy, is anybody talking about that? That's really like taking our minds back into the origins of how reality is created. And it's really like going to start it's going to cause like, respect, I guess. Re-looking, re-seeing what are we needing to change as far as like, well, not change, but look into regarding this trauma thing, this issue that I'm talking about, where first of all, do we know that we are in a state of trauma, kind of like whatever that would be, which is very vulnerable. Really, you are open. You need to know something, and first of all, you should be able to say something. And with the trauma comes just a loss of words. I think, yes, the more and more a person is being like covertly abused, where it's just like jaw dropping. It's like, wait a minute, fucking, and so you just have to expect that they are. You have to know that they are predictably unpredictable. That they are never going to run the train that, say, the laws of physics are doing, and that's what causes like trauma. Thank you for listening to this point. Because I'm not saying like, well, I'm holding a belief that is my religion. It's like no more like 2 + 2 is 4. We already know that, but that person insisted that whole time it was 5, and then ran out the door and took 5 instead of 4 or something like this. And now you're just like, take your tongue out and throw it out because you don't. It's like, when do we talk about what just happened? Can we? It becomes that kind of thing. So what's going to go on is Mercury retrograde back into Aries. I guess that's what's happening. Yes, and then that's going to help us like solidify the nature of reality. It's going to look at the I am in a very raw and frank manner. It's kind of just like um, uh, it's harsh as far as that there's no filters on, and we don't need that. See, that's what we'll be looking at is like, okay, so but what's really going on? Have you gotten a glimpse of it already with Mercury and Pluto today? If you're any kind of a in-depth person and mental, like say you are a thinker, but like to take it a little deeper every once in a while. I mean, you are capable of understanding something deeper. Today may be a time where you come across something, or you realize now that there is that understanding. It shouldn't be zapped out by the flash machine over there that is always suggesting things, right? Really take in your own revelation, your own microcosm of feeling and of investigation, like continue investigating. Because here we go with the Mercury retrograde. If I'm thinking right, this darn thing, nobody's really talking about it. It's like, okay, do you realize that if Mercury goes retrograde, it's going to go square Pluto again? That's not a light aspect. I should look it up right now in front of our faces, but it takes a little bit of while here to type up the ephemeris. I don't know why that it doesn't save it for me anymore. Very rude, because it used to work, but now it doesn't. It's like, why do you have to keep updating things? I'm not good at that. So anyway, ephemeris, babes. Looking for astrological ephemeris is what I'm missing. There we are, and I was looking to try to just get the exact dates. First of all, like the full moon, and then when does Mercury go retrograde and then start hitting Pluto? That's not a light aspect to just not see. A lot of people aren't Plutonians, so they have nothing to say. And to translate what I just said, there is a lot of people are not handling the truth very well. They're not apt to see a full spectrum that would actually benefit their, I was going to say their mind, but it never benefits the mind to know the truth. It actually destroys it, and you better learn how to set that puppy aside and whip it into shape with the truth right there, you know what I mean? Anyway, so that's what I mean. It's like a lot of astrologers that are really, see, I heard one today, and I don't know if I come across that video once again, I'm gonna fucking tell him. He says, well, you know, he's talking about astrology, and oh, everybody's interested in it more and more, so it's a great industry to get into. And I was gonna say, by the way, astrology is not an industry. It's a freaking science that points, it's a real science that points at all other possible sciences. And my teacher told me, you don't do this for money. You can take donations, and of course people will give you money to take the time to do the meditative study, but you don't call it an industry and try and sell it. It's a matter of evolution of higher consciousness, the human evolution of higher consciousness. And the thing is money isn't going to let that happen. It's going to say, if you don't pay me, I'm not going to tell you, and that's just not right. It should be free for all, and there should be real, see, that's, if you're a real astrologer, you're not calling it an industry. You're calling it the lost tool that if you don't have it, you're walking blind, and it's pointing at your own human evolution and how to become more and more conscious and become a better presence on the planet, probably, or whatever. And so, but has money ever done that for us? Does an industry do that? No, they give out a pollution, and they are polluting whatever it is they think that they are doing. So that comes with, you know, that's a Plutonian thing to say right here at the square with Mercury and Pluto. You know, it's like, it's not a question of what's natural. We know it's natural. See, that's the thing. Fucking money is taking that all away. I mean, it's taking away the organic process that it really is, and just saying, look, this is the way you do it, you know, and money is going to help you with it. And it's like, nah, you better watch out. That's a fake astrologer right there. You got to get out from under thinking that doing something for money is going to help anything. You are within an institution that uses money to level out access for everybody. You can get things within that institution, but it's highly regulated. If you look at it, it includes making your mentality into this flat line of a sensation where, yeah, you have a wannabe astrologer on fucking YouTube that says, oh, and it's a growing industry. Astrology is a growing industry. No, it's not an industry. When did astrology be an industry? It's an organic science. It's an esoteric, symbolic language full of symbology that points at an organic process of the awakening of man, and money isn't going to allow, it has nothing to do with it. It's not an industry. I know what you're trying to mean, but I don't appreciate it. I don't. And neither does anybody else, really. Money sucks the nourishment out of everything. For the sake of what? Well, somebody wants to get a good deal. Somebody thinks they have a good take on it, and it's really not. You need a really Plutonian person to describe what is going on with Pluto, and especially this Pluto aspect when it goes into this humanitarian. See, the phenomenon for me is as I'm looking at, there's these Leos that get the spotlight. They're in the spotlight. They're going to tell us about Pluto and Aquarius, and they forgetting that, it's opposing your sun. So it's a matter of are you really celebrating the truth, or are you turning it into Kool-Aid and consomme, really watering it down, which that's what Leo likes to do. It's put the spotlight on it, right? Paint it up. If there's wrinkles, no, take that away, and uh, kind of mocking what's to come in their own consciousness, which is to fucking wake up to the truth. And now here we got Scorpios. That's the squares, the Pluto. Pluto, woo, man, I see a lot of Leonians in straight up living in denial. I mean, like I said, it's just okay, so it could work. I see a Sun conjunct Pluto. I have Sun conjunct Pluto. And if a Leo wants to be Plutonian, woo, yeah, they can be amazing, but are they allowed to? They're in the spotlight over there. And you hear a lot of them, you say, well, I don't take up sides, really. I don't have an opinion on this or anything, and I really don't push this or that. And it's like, well, then that means you are not interesting. What are you? You're a facade. Scratch it a little bit, and there's nobody there that has found the truth of truths. Not yet. It's just, I'm not, and I certainly don't take any one side. And I think a square and opposition and trine is all the same, just as long as, and did you know that whole sign placements are an aspect also? It's like, really? Really? Astrology is valid, huh? Like, according to all the signs and how they angle? Wow. Let's really get really, really like now. Oh, God, I thank you for letting us know your elementary style pardon me while the lighting is not that good. Yeah, a lot of shifting going around. It's gonna come up to that where it's like, you know what? Stop putting a price tag on things that are actually priceless. Now, having said that, like how many things can we say, and stop putting a price tag on things that are actually hooked into the forever cycle that is a circle. Figure out what the hell that price tag is doing. Why is it there? Fucking, I get allergic. There's a time of year when they start doing yard sales, and I just think, if that isn't one of the worst ways to stay locked in a state of low-life enslavement and perpetuating, say, misery, is to really take yard sales. I mean, to be a yard sailor, man, to just be into, like, everybody is waiting for that time. It's going to be yard sale time. And it's like, I think it should be gasoline time. And at that time, you just put everything in a pile and burn it. And say, fucking freedom! Freedom. You have money, right? Just save it. Save your money. The idea is to save money. You don't have, I don't need this. You don't need it. At the end of the day, at the end of the weekend, I'm going by the yard sales and saying, how much do you pay me for me to take all this shit out of here? Because where I live, in the mountains, and it's just like, you see people dragging shit up in stagecoaches and then just fucking leaving it. There's a thrift store center. There's two of them that I know of, and they are overloaded with furniture, and it should be just all piled up neatly. Because these people forgot fucking why they went up to the mountains. They brought all this shit up, and it's like, wait, now you realize that you have to go, and you're not going to drag that shit around. So pile it up, stick it together tightly, leave some airspace, yes, and put gasoline in it, and then light it. Have a massive fire, hopefully in 30 minutes, most of that shit will be gone. And never drag your kids around doing yard selling, or yourself, or anybody. Never teach anybody to put a price tag on anything. Thank you.